everybody, welcome to Impossible Coin. We are a folk down this week. From what I understand, Tegan is currently sleeping it off in a local jail after having too many Bahama Mamas at a fan convention.
I think it was in a Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yes. Tegan started some shit in the Buffalo Wild Wings. This is in brand and on character. Reportedly got very, very angry when they put celery sticks on her chicken wing plate.
You know she doesn't like green things. It was a common mistake.
Yep. They done fucked up. That's how you dig your own grave. Here to spit the truth about this situation, Rocky Hardy.
Hey, it's me. And, I'm not a stitch or nothing, but I know what happened.
To be real here, we're not turning Tegan into the cops. That shit already happened. So, I don't think we can be snitches at this point. In this particular situation, we're just describing what happened. I'm still trying to find out if I can get that World Star tier footage, but if we do, you'll be the first to know. I am Brian Cartwright. This is Impossible Coin. We guaranteed we will bring at least our B game today to make up for the fact that we got no Tegan. Rocky, what's going on, man?
Dude, there's a lot of stuff. I finished Astral Chain. It was a platinum-ass, anime-ass video game that had me deal with some bullshit I didn't think I could. The game believed in me when I didn't, man. It was a great time.
I saw what felt like very hyperbolic headline this week about Astral Chain.
Mm-hmm.
It said, Astral Chain is the Nintendo Switch game that everyone needed this year, but no one knew that they needed.
I mean, it's pretty hyperbolic. I don't know about that one. I think it's part of the Game of the Year conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good video game, and it's very confident about the space that it inhabits.
Right.
At least more people should play it. I don't know if I'd call it essential.
Always telling someone that, a platinum game is a very difficult conversation because, platinum is the most schizophrenic developer. There are very clearly two platinums. There is cares deeply about the product. Everything is lovingly crafted. Holy shit, this is so good platinum. And then there's that platinum that brought you the Legend of Korra game.
I feel like that was Nickelodeon's fault. I can't prove it, but I'm willing to bet that's Nickelodeon.
If that was the only time that it happened, I'd be with you.
Mm-hmm.
But there have definitely been some times where you're like, ooh, yikes. We're doing this today. The Ninja Turtles game they made, definitely also the case. There are points in the game where the game just breaks and you can't go any further. And because of the way that save checkpointing works in that game, it may put a checkpoint after when the game is broken. So it'll break the game, then save. So if you attempt to reload the save, it's already after the game is broken. Good times. But that speaks to my point, which is there are two platinums. There are the platinums which put out games like Bayonetta and Vanquish. And then there's the platinum that puts out games that at best you say ew when you talk about. It sounds like this is the former and not the latter from your perspective.
Yeah, this is good platinum, man.
Do you think that their relationship with Nintendo is influencing their artistic direction? Could you see, in another timeline, playing Astral Chain on another platform?
I mean, probably, yeah, and it'd be a different game. I feel like, for being in a cyberpunk setting, it's not as edgy or explicit or mature as it could have been. And honestly, that game's in the works. Cyberpunk 2077 is showing up soon. If Astral Chain showed up on PlayStation, I think it wouldn't be as kid-friendly, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
At the very least, it would look different. I really like it the way that it is, because Astral Chain knows what it is. It doesn't try too hard with a lot of things.
Right.
It's very focused on particular details to bring out a certain experience. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of want to say that it's perfect the way that it is.
That brings us right back to, I guess, that hyperbolic headline.
Well, no. Perfect specifically meaning that it's without flaw. Not that it's the best, but it definitely does what it's supposed to and it doesn't do anything else.
Okay.
It's like saying, like, the hammer is the best tool in the toolbox. And it's not like the hammer is the most useful thing, but, like, it's supposed to bang in nails, and it's very good at doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of the hammer being the best tool in the toolbox, I see that you have been besieging community leaders.
I don't know about all that. I mean, we definitely went to a brand new continent, and there may have been some monsters there that were causing some trouble. Maybe we had a conversation that ended with their broken kneecaps, but that's not my business. I have no idea how that happened.
How is Monster Hunter, sir?
Dude, it's great. They added all the monsters that I care about. Clutch clawing is super fun. You can take these dumb monsters and run them into walls and then get free knockdowns. It's some of the most satisfying shit I've gotten to do in a Monster Hunter in a long time. Next to, like, fucking, like, Bushido and shit. You have a claw that allows you to, like, latch on to monsters, and you kind of zip over to them, like Captain Commando style. And then you can empty your slinger ammo, and the monster walks a couple steps forward. And if it's close enough to a wall, it's just gonna run its dumbass right into the wall and fall on its back. Like, Jesus Christ, I love this fucking game.
Okay, question. So, from what I understand, like, the content in this game is gated that you have to have beaten Monster Hunter World in order to start Iceborne.
Yeah.
But that there is some armor they give you when you buy the DLC.
Right.
Which I've heard some people describing it as the fuck it catch up nerd armor.
Well, yeah, it's a bridge, like, set of equipment.
Okay. If you were somebody who had been dilly-dallying on the base content, that the catch-up nerd armor might be helpful, but that, like, if you weren't really connecting with the way Monster Hunter works, that all it really meant was that you would stand there longer before you fell over dead?
I mean, I guess, like, if you get hit, you're gonna take damage, and eventually you'll die.
Yes. And,
like, the catch-up armor doesn't take away that danger. It just gives you an actual chance. Because the numbers are just higher. Like, at the very least, on top of everything else that they did with Iceborne, the numbers are higher than they used to be before. And so, like, if you walk in with, like, even, you know, standard high-rank armor, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna be in danger if you get hit. Like, I'm actually still fighting in old armor, because I really like the skills that I have with it. And while I did get to end games, I get maybe, a solid, like, 3 to 5 hits before I'm actually down. And that's, like, 3 to 5 hits if I'm not healing, if I'm not being careful. If I just get blown up, I get blown up, whatever. I know that the bridge armor has higher defense than what I'm using. So, like, that number's gonna go up. So if, like, if you're in a position where, like, you know how to safely distance from a monster so you can heal, then the new armor is gonna be helpful for you engaging with the new content. And, like, if you don't have those instincts, then yeah, you're probably gonna get bullied.
Okay. So it sounds like this bridge armor is more helpful to people who maybe were already really effectively on the Monster Hunter train, learning those Monster Hunter skills, and maybe the clock just ran out for them personally on their time. They're like, okay, I know how to Monster Hunter, I just didn't have time to Monster Hunter. That, like, the people out there who were like, look, man, this fucking Tyrannosaurus really is supposed to murder me, and he overwhelms me. Those people aren't really going to get shit out of this armor.
So the problem with fighting, like, Anjanath, especially, like, in the story, it's a wall, and the reason it's difficult is because you shouldn't have armor that should allow you to fight it. Like, that's the short version. There are other, I guess, items throughout the game that you can build to, like, get better armor, even circumventing a bit of the story, but, you know, your hunter rank is locked, and so, like, you can do things like upgrade your armor, which I didn't do in low rank, but it's still an option that's available to you. Right. And if you have the items that allow you to do it, which you should, just by, like, playing in the course of the game, then you can get to a defense point where you're not going to be absolutely punished by, like, some of the attacks. Because there are, like, maybe 2 attacks that Anjanath has that just straight up one-shot kill you at that level. But you can get to the point where, like, where the attacks don't one-shot kill you, but not to the point where you can just ignore the attacks. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, It sounds like the perspective that would be best to take on this is, I'm going to be happy for all the Monster Hunter people. I'm not going to join them.
Sure.
But I'm going to be happy that they got more Monster Hunter.
Okay. If that position ever, shifts at all, let me know.
Yep.
Because I'm always playing.
Enjoy your landmass. Enjoy your familiar, loved monsters. That, thing that sounds kind of like a grappling hook sounds cool.
Yeah. I really like how they expanded monsters in this, because that was one of the major criticisms about the original game, that there weren't as many monsters as, traditionally show up. Because I think we had maybe 15 or so in the first Monster Hunter world. And with Iceborne, we're getting, a new tier, which has, monsters that we've already played with, but now they're stronger. And they have, different movesets.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's variations on the same monsters. Tobi Kadachi, which is a lightning flying squirrel, gets a version in Iceborne called Viper Tobi Kadachi, where instead of using lightning as its element, its fangs can induce paralysis, and its tail can poison you. Oh, and its tail's no longer its weak spot, so the two biggest parts where you want to be attacking have the ability to, poison you devastatingly, and it changes the fight, astronomically. That's really cool. Otherwise, it could have just been a reskin. It could have been something super lazy that wouldn't have, changed how I approached it at all. But they made, cognizant choices to do stuff like that. They made a Paolumu that normally just blows air at you, but a variation where, all of its breaths come with, a chemical that makes you start to fall asleep. So just taking, the air blast isn't really an option anymore, because after 4 seconds, you'll be asleep on the ground and the boss gets a free hit. And, you never want to risk that. And so it changes your strategy. And, those types of, little things that add fresh insight into, approaching certain monsters is really cool. And I'm glad that they really put in the time to develop those experiences.
From what I understand, there's also, a lot of more visual variety. I hear that there's no possible way you're mistaking the new biomes for, existing areas.
Oh, yeah. So, the new Iceborne map, it's really big. The multiple level stages, Rotten Vale, which has, its overland, which is, sun-facing and whatnot, and then you have these weird, eerie caverns under it. And we also have pretty sprawling maps, like the Ancient Forest level, which I think is, 3 separate levels and, 16 areas. And, Iceborne's, ice levels, something 3 stories tall, but I want to say they're, 16 to, 22 new areas. It's really big. There's a lot of space, and that includes stuff like new endemic life, which are the little creatures around the area. They're actually running an event where you can capture these spider monkey koalas, and if you capture enough of them, there is a head armor choice where it's just 2 of the creatures just hanging on your shoulders, and you can just fight like that. It's just a thing you can do.
Man.
Yeah, the whole thing got bigger, and the game also has new life in it. I'm really excited.
Well, very cool. I'm glad that my nightmare is giving you a good time.
I'm sorry that it's your nightmare. I wouldn't have brought it to you if it was.
I see that you also want to talk about something which should be everybody's nightmare.
Oh, yeah, the Colonel Sanders dating sim?
Fuck this thing. Please proceed.
Okay, yeah, I'm still not sure why this is happening, but KFC, and it's in another strange interaction with gaming, has put together a dating sim where you play an aspiring young cook at a culinary school who trains under and has the ability to potentially date Colonel Sanders, as well as 8 other characters. It's bright, it's colorful, it features an anime Colonel Sanders, and you know what's happening. This coupled with KFC gaming and those weird Bluetooth peripherals that they were selling in the Middle East, I don't fucking understand what's up with KFC. It's so weird. But it's on Steam. It's gonna come out in 2 weeks or something.
Whew.
What, you don't want to play I Love You, Colonel Sanders, a finger-licking good dating simulator?
No. I very much don't.
Okay. I mean, that's cool. Like, it's not for everyone.
No, in fact, it really shouldn't be for anyone.
Okay.
So, alright, where to start?
Maybe start with Professor Dog and the dog named Best Friend. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
You know what? Actually, Professor Dog seems like a great place to start. So thank you, Rocky. That's a good jumping off point. Looking at this game, it feels like if I were going to make a video game which was filled with broad generalizations and assumptions about dating sims, visual novels, Japanese culture, and fucking weebs, it might look like I Love You, Colonel Sanders, a finger-licking good dating simulator. Professor Dog seems like the kind of joke that somebody would make about, like, a visual novel.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sitting here looking at anime Colonel Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
And he just fills me with rage.
Walk me through that.
Okay. I'm really not into the way we culturally have been interacting with brands.
Okay.
And this feels a lot like one of the end states of that. So people already tweet at brands and interact with brands in ways where people are competing for the attention and affection of these, like, large, profit-driven, publicly traded capitalist enterprises.
Right.
Yes, it's like, oh, yay, Wendy's dragged me. And it's like, holy shit, a place you buy crappy burgers sometimes made fun of you on the internet and you're excited. Yes!
Well, like, Wendy's is kind of the Regina George of the internet.
And I think that when brands get humanization like being called the Regina George of the internet, it kind of, like, detaches them from judgment for the way they operate as companies. If we're thinking about Wendy's in terms where people are like, oh, well, like, Wendy's is sarcastic or whatever, like, if those are the kinds of, like, words or language we use to describe a company, it ceases to make sense just with the way our human brains work to, like, talk about them in inhuman terms, like large eldritch horrors that they are. It's hard for something to be both personified and also act in a way which is completely alien to, like, human motivation and experience. This, like, Colonel Sanders game, it feels like the people who made the game for KFC.
Yeah, PSYOP?
Yes. I'm not seeing what I would call a wealth of Japanese-style visual novels in the catalog of their history.
Yeah, this doesn't sound like visual novel specialists or anything. Specialists?
There are legit a shit ton of those. Both Japanese and Western that make visual novels. A lot of the Western studios making Western visual novels don't attempt to, like, affect tropes of, like, Japanese media. They're just making visual novels. Like, one that pops to mind is a game called Cinders, which is, like, a visual novel about the life of, like, Cinderella.
Okay.
And it like, very much is structurally a visual novel and uses all the tools that are familiar to players of visual novels, but it doesn't put on, like, the trappings of, like, a Japanese game. And this, like, Colonel Sanders game appears to, like, make fun of visual novels, make fun of, like, Japanese video games, make fun of the people that play them, all the while saying, like, please consume this content, which is just a stream of advertising for KFC. And because of the way fucking media consumption works now, what's something that you think is going to happen with this game, Rocky?
Yeah, I'm not really sure where you're going with this one.
People are going to fucking stream this video game, Rocky.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely.
Yep. In fact, I would not be surprised if on the day this game drops, that it is not one of the most watched games across game streaming platforms.
Well, yeah.
The novelty of it, the weirdness of it, there are going to be tens of thousands of people tuning in to, for, I guess, likely hours at a time, watch an ad for KFC. And I'm just not with that.
Okay, so, like, you're saying that the dating sim is, like, a very intricate way of organically creating a commercial for them. Like, this is, like, a potential ad buy about Colonel Sanders, and they're going to trick streamers into proliferating it to their audiences.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess it's particularly lame, but, like, at best, it's, like, a meme, right? Like, I watch, like, Super Bowl commercials, and I don't think a Super Bowl commercial, while entertaining, has ever made me want to, like, consume Budweiser or, like, Doritos, but they're definitely there every year. I feel like it's lame that they're figuring out how to do this, but it doesn't seem that dangerous to me.
And that is where they win.
Okay.
I think that when large corporations engage in behavior which is designed to make them appear less dangerous and more fully ingratiate themselves to audiences that's met with like, oh, well, you know, like it's a meme, it's not that bad. They fucking win.
I guess I'm trying to... I know that you're bothered by this. I'm looking at this and seeing, like, instead of, you know, paying NBC to run a KFC commercial before Superstore, they paid a game studio to make a shitty visual novel and see if people watching a random game on Twitch will buy more KFC.
So, okay, like, it has been the human inclination for as long as advertising has existed for humans to try and find ways to flee from and run from advertising.
Okay, that's fair.
The technology to run from and flee from advertising, I'd say probably peaked right around like 2002, 2003, when like mankind felt like he had entered a golden age of like, fuck it, I don't have to listen to these people. When both the internet was not sophisticated enough to like get around our ad blockers, and two, the TiVo had just hit the shelf at all your local circuit cities. And so you can be like, you know what, man? I'm going to watch The Shield, and I'll be goddamned if you try and sell me Tide.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have to see no Tide ads, and my copy of Firefox did not keep on, you know, showing me trash on every webpage. So, as mankind has gotten better at fleeing from advertising, somebody somewhere said, well, what if we made people want to be advertised to? There's a litany of things that are going on with advertising right now and the way companies make money that like bother me. Like, it bothers me that part of the way the web works now is to just track whether or not you have an ad blocker enabled and be like, hey, you know, like, you're going to need to whitelist this website and you're going to need to be advertised to. And oftentimes that like choosing to whitelist a website means that you're not just consenting to like look at ads placed on their website, that what you're actually doing is allowing for them to place cookie trackers in your browser so that way they can follow you around the internet and sell data about you.
Mm-hmm.
Advertising penetration rates are such that it doesn't make enough sense for them just to advertise to you, so instead they have to steal data about you to like sell. You know, like that bothers me.
I get that, yeah.
And trying to convince people to want something that they have culturally attempted to avoid for hundreds of years. Like, from like a guy standing in a fucking square ringing a bell being like, please come on down to Dragon and Well and eat the chicken and drink the mead. We now are like, oh, I love when Dragon and Well dunks on me. Like, it's so good. It should make people marvel that, like, people are like, oh, well, you know, it doesn't bother me that, like, I want to participate in Dragon and Well's content. Like, they're cool. Dragon and Well is fun. And, like, Dragon and Well is a bad company that doesn't pay its employees well, you know, raises chickens in, like, a reprehensible environment, and donates to political candidates that you find reprehensible. It's fucking nuts. It's bonkers. There are companies that do it in ways that are like pretty straightforward. But when I go on Twitter and I see brands interacting with brands, where it seems to be that the silent agreement between two different corporations is, even though the most important thing to do is to get people to trust us so that way they'll buy our trash, more important to that in this very moment is for us to humanize ourselves to our prospective audience so that way they will trust us and they will treat us like people. Something I saw this week that bothered me is there's been this meme going around Twitter where people will show a book. The meme is like, don't have a bookmark, ? And then...
Oh, the Oreos and milk thing.
Right. That wasn't started by Oreo. Like, that was floating around Twitter beforehand. People were like...
Yeah, brands don't create memes. Like, that's not real.
Yes. Right. You know, like, I saw one that was like, don't have a bookmark, try using a slice of ham instead. You know, like, don't have a bookmark, try using broken glass. Like, and so there were like tons of like, don't have a bookmarks, try using such and such and instead. And then along comes Oreo. It says, don't have a bookmark, try using Oreo cookies and milk instead. And one of the first responses to Oreo's dumb tweet, where they're using a meme to try and appear more human to their audience, is fucking Steakum saying, Oreo, thank you. The tweet from Steakum, the fucking official Steakum account, is all lowercase, bad punctuation, and it's like, oh my god, like this carefully calculated, considered fucking like Predator monster shit, like Oreo, comma, thank letter U. Fuck off. And then like the response from the Oreo account, like, you're welcome, smiley face, like, you're not people, brands. You're not people. And this feels like that.
Okay. I agree that, like, KFC is trying to pretend like it's people, which is, like, a lot of what it's done for, like, the past, 10 years. But I think they just have, like, they're trying to invest in tech for some reason, and maybe they're trying to flip that into advertising. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
But I'd have to check what KFC owns or whatever. There probably is some weird tech subsidiary somewhere. Maybe they own PsyOp. That would actually be kind of funny to me. They bought PsyOp and then had them make this, like, Colonel Sanders chicken game, which is weird. Well, it's weird that brands are, like, developing this technology. And if they ever, perfect it, that's a real problem for, like, discerning, like, what's real and what's not in the world. But I think they're really far off. I think, like, consumers are aware of, like, the shenanigans that brands are trying to pull. And even if they appear to be playing along, it's only because of how, like, childish it seems. Like, playing with a dog that's sitting on its hind legs pretending it's people. Like, you shake the dog's hand, but, like, you're not going to make a business deal with a dog that you seal with a handshake. It's just not real.
I think the difference between a brand and a dog sitting on its hind legs offering its paw for a handshake like a people
is that corporations are smarter than dogs.
That is exactly what I'm going to say. Okay,
cool.
Also, dogs don't have nearly limitless resources to get you to change its opinion about dogs. Like
that's also true. So we're fighting like the mermaid lobby.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh man, I'm so upset that Demi Lovato blew some mermaids. Oh god, it's not important. We're talking about other stuff.
I'm at PsyOp's website right now.
Uh-huh.
I now have to wonder about these games that they've previously released through Steam.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm seeing what their primary bread and butter is. When you go to their website, it says, we are iconic visual storytellers that blur the line between advertising and entertainment.
Oh fuck, that's actually their wheelhouse. Is terrifying. Someone is definitely developing that technology.
Our mission is to persuade, change, and influence.
Well, that's a hell of a niche, man.
Yep. Whew. Yeah.
They're actually called PsyOps.
Yeah. PsyOps, man.
They're operations, man.
We named our fucking advertising company after a warfare tactic.
Well, man, dude, capitalism is war.
Okay. Have I got you on this fucking Colonel Sanders thing yet?
I understand what you're saying. I'm not particularly worried about it.
God damn it.
But it is weird that these people are doing this particular work. And if they figure it out, it's going to be a big deal. But I don't think they're going to figure it out, Brian. I don't think that's a thing that's going to happen ultimately. Unless, like, you convince me that something like Keanu Reeves, like, acting out at E3 was, like, calculated, if that was a whole thing. Like, if you tell me that guy that says you're breathtaking first to, like, Keanu Reeves, like, if that guy was a plant, then maybe we're in trouble. Like, maybe we have some things we gotta figure out, man. But, like, I don't think we're that deep yet. That whole deep fake thing with, like, it was someone pretending to be Tom Cruise.
Yeah, that is Control-Alt-Fake. And what they did was they took a interview from The Late Show when it was still hosted by David Letterman, where it was Bill Hader on the couch. And Bill Hader, at various points during the course of that interview, does a impression of Tom Cruise and an impression of Seth Rogen. And in the video, whenever he's riffing on Tom Cruise, his face changes into Tom Cruise's face. And then, like, the one time he does Seth Rogen, it changes into Seth Rogen's face.
Yeah. Like, so, I guess what I'm saying is that, like, that stuff is really scary, and we don't have, like, answers to how to, like, deal with that in your daily lives. But I'm confident that we will. Like, it's gonna get to a point we're, like, really fucking scared about deepfakes, and then 15 years down the line, there's gonna be a bunch of people, and, like, it's like, oh, that's a deepfake, you don't have to worry too much about it. Like, it'll be a nuisance we deal with. Even if it, like, fundamentally changes, like, how we interact with the world, it won't be the end of us. That's what I'm saying.
I think that the way modern advertising works has already fundamentally changed the way we interact with the world.
Sure. No, that's definitely true. It is a real thing that I don't think we have the power to do away with, but people are actively trying. They're developing new technology every day.
Okay, that's fair. We don't know how to, like, topple it at all right now. But what we do have is an insidious fucking chicken dating game. Step one, we may not know how to bring down the castle, but it's certainly a step in the right fucking direction to not download, buy, or play this fucking chicken game.
Also, the chicken game is free, I'm pretty sure, because it's a commercial.
Oh, okay.
They can't charge money for it. No, I'm kidding.
You know what? Honestly, could have charged people for this. It probably would have. If I worked at Evil Corp, I would have been like, we need to charge for this, because then it'll feel less like an ad.
Okay, no, but Brian, you work at KFC, right? And, or KFC Inc.
I'm Johnny Evil. I work at KFC.
Okay, Mr. Evil.
Yes.
So, we're putting together the new advertisement, the PsyOps project.
Uh-huh.
Operation Finger Licking Dating Sim.
Yep.
And we need some guidance on how to price it. Apparently there's a price that's too low that will convey the idea that we don't really believe in our product or we don't think that it's particularly good. But then there is a price that's too high, which limits our ad reach. What do you suggest?
Well, we're going to use two different pricing structures.
Excuse me?
For our inevitable mobile release, we're going to price it at 99 cents. Because people have been trained to trust the 99-cent price mark on mobile platforms. Free, they assume that the game is going to ask hundreds of dollars for them. But at 99 cents, they just go for it.
Is that how it goes? Okay, no, it's fine. It's okay. I'm cool. Go ahead. John, Mr. Evil, please tell us your brilliant plan.
And on PC and Macintosh, we're pricing it at $4.99.
$4.99, sir.
Uh-huh. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to go on Twitter, and we're going to say, for the same price as a great lunch at KFC, you can find love.
Oh, man. So you can pay $5 and you can either eat your 3-piece or you can fuck Colonel Sanders? That's how that's going to go.
Yep. And then, when someone inevitably asks on Twitter, what if I want to eat lunch and find love? We then flip the switch to free and get told we're heroes for advertising for them for nothing. So we'll have the revenue until someone asks us that. Excuse me, man. I'm going to go in my office and drink the blood of infants.
I hear the infant blood shipment was good today. Very fresh.
Uh-huh. Oh. Rocky.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Death Stranding did its gameplay reveal. We now know how Death Stranding works. It looks cool and kind of weird. I do like the choice of like having your loadout like visibly represented on the Pro Tag on Sam. I think that's really cool because like a lot of games like definitely slub over inventory for the sake of convenience, and I get that sake of convenience, but I like to really fill my loadout sometimes. And I think it's cool that you can do that in this game.
I love the status screen that shows you where your center of gravity is.
That's actually really cool, too!
And, like, the idea of depending on, like, what pants you're wearing, or if you're wearing a vest. Sure, you could put it all in your backpack, but maybe put some in your pants, or put some in a vest. Like, the idea of, like, picking pockets and deciding how to pack. Like, I'm like, oh my god. There is some, like, real Tetris to this shit.
Yeah.
How to carry your stuff. It's got me thinking about, like, the Resident Evil 4 inventory system.
Yeah, no, I get that, yeah.
And it was, like, very, very obvious. But once you get into, like, them talking about this and Kojima digging into some of these details, that this truly is Kojima Unchained. You know, people have been making that joke now ever since, like, the existence of Death Stranding was revealed. Like, oh shit, we're going to finally get Kojima Unchained. But, guys, we're finally going to get Kojima Unchained.
Yeah.
You know, like, this is his company, and, like, Sony may be here for, like, publishing rights on the PlayStation, but they don't own this IP, and they didn't have any input whatsoever into what the fuck he was going to do with it.
Yeah, they just gave him a check. It's like, hey, Kojima make a game. It's like, you got it, cuz. That's it. This is the game.
His work has always had, like, a very strongly passionate, like, anti-militaristic theme to it.
Yeah.
Kojima fucking hates him some war. Kojima hates him some military. Death Stranding seems hopeful in a way that, like, most of the Metal Gear games really haven't had time to be. Because of what they were kind of, like, married to mechanically. And it seems to be that, like, one of the things that, like, Death Stranding really wants you to do is to, like, be kind to other players and make choices to help people. Like, leaving shit out in the environment for people to find.
Yeah.
That seems to be really, really cool. And then the way the game rewards you, like, let's say you find a cliff that you need to get up, and it's kind of shitty and tough to do so. And so you leave a ladder there, and then somebody gets up that ladder. They then can reward your in-game play experience for leaving the ladder there?
Yeah, they can give you a like.
We've got a Kojima game that is, like, prioritizing, like, being kind and being grateful. And I'm like, wow, that's neat. That's really fucking cool. Rocky, you're going to have to tell me if I remember this right or if I saw this right. Like, Is there just straight up fucking Monster Energy drink in this game?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Oh my god. All right, yeah. That's cool, I guess. I don't know enough about Kojima's energy drink tastes.
I think he might actually be a Monster Energy guy.
Yeah. If Kojima was, like, legit, like, you know what? I love me some Monster Energy drink. If he, like, went and he knocked on their doors and was like, guys, you know what? I love to, like, drink Monster and piss jet fuel, and I'm all out of jet fuel. Monster was like, oh, that's okay, I guess. Then I guess I'm down with it. It's a weird thing. This, like,
it's definitely weird, yeah.
Yeah. You can comfort the baby.
Yeah, you get a harmonica later. You can just, like, play songs for it, which is really great.
And, like, the baby has a like button for you. Like, the baby can be like, I enjoy your harmonica playing. I'm leaving you likes.
I think it's really neat that, like, the game is presumably designed in a way that it wants you to, like, fuck off and just hang out with the baby.
Yeah.
That's actually really cool.
Did you get the vibe that, like, this is a game that is going to really encourage you to kind of, like, fuck off? Like, in general? Like, I get the impression that, like, even though there is a plot and a point, that, like, this is a game that wants me to settle in and goof off a little bit.
Well, yeah, like, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of choices that point to that already. Like, the soundtrack itself is, like, mostly ambient, if not mellow. There are definitely points of, like, action that, like, we've seen, but they haven't portrayed that as readily as other games often do in their promotion material. Even when the game is, like, 10% action and, like, 90% fucking off, the trailers for the game will show you, like, the actiony bits, and it won't focus on showing you, like, part of the experience is fucking off, but Death Stranding has definitely done that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not often that I see a game with this kind of aesthetic and be like, you know what? I'm getting at least some of the chill out vibes that I would get from, like, arranging my furniture in Animal Crossing off of this gameplay footage.
Yeah. That's actually a weird, like, correlation, but I feel it.
Yeah. And the reason I specifically say arranging the furniture is, like, arranging, like, your backpack and your gear. It's like, there seems to be something very, very satisfying about the idea of, like, I've got my backpack packed just right. You know? And then, like, when they start talking about the, like, fucking, like, cargo carrying thing that you can get later on in the game.
Yeah.
Your hover cargo carrier. And it's like, oh, you can ride the hover cargo carrier. And it's like, oh man, this game is like, hey, do you want to just fuck off for a while? You just want to ride your cargo carrier down the river? You can do that. Oh man, yeah, I'm here for this weird shit. I am here for this weird shit. He has managed to not have anybody breathing through their skin in any of this footage, so keep it up.
Alright, so how do you feel about Project Resistance, man?
In general, pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about it so far seems to be, like, pretty interesting. Like, an idea that, like, game developers seem to have been chasing for a while is the whole idea of, like, the asymmetrical multiplayer shooter.
Yeah.
You know, like, we tried to get it with Evolve. Didn't really work out. You know, like, game developers have been chasing the asymmetrical shooter for a while. You know, Microsoft canceled that, like, Fable game, which was, like, the asymmetrical game.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, this seems pretty cool, but it also seems to be, like, reflective of game publishers' current fear of publishing anything that isn't associated with a currently trusted or loved IP.
Yeah.
This all seems to be, like, very mechanically interesting and, like a very cool idea. It also doesn't seem to be remotely anything like I associate Resident Evil with. But, like, I'm willing to bet that someone somewhere was like, had an easier time pitching this to their bosses because they said, and it's Resident Evil.
I mean, I definitely get that. I feel like playing as the mastermind allows a player to replicate instances that you fought against in, say, like, stuff like Code Veronica.
Right.
And that's a unique experience in terms of, like, Resident Evil. But the levers that you're able to pull as the mastermind feels like stuff that, like, the good Resident Evil games have pulled against you. Like, you walk into rooms and suddenly the lights go out. Sometimes you see an enemy from, like, an uncomfortable angle that can fuck your shit up. Like, just Mr. X, like, shows up because of, or rather, you become aware of Mr. X showing up because of, like, some ambient cue, like hearing these heavy footsteps and shit. And that's some shit that, like, the mastermind can do to you, which I think could be cool. I don't know how well it'll work out, like, in a competitive environment, which, like, sucks. Because there's that... I forgot what that one game is, but there was a game that it's in alpha where they have asymmetrical gameplay where there's, like, one, like, quote, hunter that has, like, you know, guns and, like, tools or whatever. And then there's, like, 4 other people who aren't especially armed, but they can, like, run around... And they're trying to, like, complete some sort of objective to, like, circumvent the hunter, but the hunter can just, you know, shoot them. There are basically, like, easy ways for, like, the hunter to be, like, really aggressive and win early. But it cuts off, like, gameplay for, like, the opposing team. And it, like, is really easy to gimp even, like, good teams. And I feel like they run the risk of making the mastermind too powerful.
Right.
And, like, then it's only fun for the mastermind, or, like, the mastermind is, like, ineffective, and it's not fun for anyone.
And that was the curve that kind of, like, happened with Evolve. In Evolve, the monster formerly had, like, 3 phases, and the idea was that, like, if the hunters coordinated well and communicated well, and were able to pin down the monster in the first 2 phases... a well-coordinated group of hunters could just, like, overwhelm and destroy the monster very, very easily, as long as they got the monster before it achieved its final form. But if it got to its final form, then, like, killing all the hunters was just trivial.
Mm-hmm.
Which is definitely, like, reflective of bad balance and bad design. But, like, word from people who got near this thing at TGS is that, like, this doesn't seem like that. Like, and obviously, like, game floor impressions at, like, a trade show are one thing. I am looking forward to, like, hearing what people say who spend more time with this thing. Because I think that is definitely something interesting to solve for. How do you create, like, a satisfying play experience where you as, like, one of the players feel empowered, or as you as, like, the architect bad guy in whatever game it is also feels empowered? Like, how do you in a game where, like, inherently the players can't be on equal footing all the time, create the sensation of being on equal footing?
Yeah.
So, like, I'm intrigued because this is a game which has already overcome some, like, pretty impressive hurdles.
Mm-hmm.
When Capcom said we're going to have a Resident Evil announcement, like, the people were like, oh man, is it going to be RE3 remake? Is it RE8? Is it Code Veronica remake? Like, they already had a bunch of announcements when they said we're going to have a Resident Evil announcement and didn't immediately follow it up with what it was. So when they're like, hey guys, it's a multiplayer shooter, and then people pushed back on that, when people actually got near the thing and they were like, oh, it's good, I guess? Question mark?
It's good, I guess, question mark.
To announce a Resident Evil game and then have it not be what people wanted, but have them embrace it anyway, in a very specific subgenre, which has been just chock-a-block full of bad implementations and, like, mediocre execution, it is definitely intriguing. Like, they appear to be doing better right now than, like, what a lot of people have done so far in this, like, subgenre. So I will keep track of this.
Hey, speaking of people who are doing better than their predecessors, like, Neo Geo with his fucking Arcade Stick Pro is everything that fucking goofy-ass 3-person Capcom stick should have been.
No shit. Like, it's weird, too, because, like, I feel like people full-on slept on the Neo Geo Mini.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by all accounts, the emulator was very, good and like, it seems to me that the bar for these little tiny consoles is, hilariously enough, pretty low. The bar is just simply, please don't fuck this up. That's it. That's the bar.
Yeah, that's where we're at.
And so, like, Nintendo releases tiny consoles and they manage to not fuck it up. People straight up love that new Sega Genesis Mini that came out like a week ago.
Yeah, we're gonna have words about that later, but go
we
ahead.
are?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Like Sony released that little tiny PlayStation, and people were big mad.
Well, yeah, they fucked it up.
They fucked it up hard, but like kind of got lost in the mix was the little tiny Neo Geo arcade cabinet, which was by all accounts like very, very good, and like in addition to like being a tiny console that you could plug up to your television and then play using gamepads that looked like the Neo Geo CD gamepads. It was also a little tiny arcade cabinet you could take with you on the go. And like, what a cute idea. But like this stick seems to speak specifically to like the needs of an SNK fan.
Yeah, it's everything you need, man. Like, it has the built-in games, and you can plug it into just a screen and fuck with it. And if you just want to play like an actual fighting game, it's also just a fucking stick.
Yeah.
Like, you can just plug that shit in.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's all we need. Like,
It seems like a really good idea. They haven't formally said that all 20 games will be fighting games. It seems to be a lot of media outlets are leaping to that assumption. I don't necessarily think that's the case because like SNK had plenty of arcade games that weren't fighting games. So if I were to make a guess, if Brian were to make an educated guess, it would be that my guess is that the contents of the final stick are going to be somewhere between 60 to 75% fighting games. And then some like, oh yeah, I really love that game too. There's going to be at least one like Ikari Warriors game on there, right? Like it kind of seems like if you're going to make a SNK arcade stick thing, that you want to like reserve at least one of the slots for Ikari Warriors, right?
I think Ikari Warriors would be a good addition.
Oh man, they're gonna put fucking Garou Mark of the Wolves in this thing, aren't they?
That would be cool. I'm about that.
I'm trying to think what the other not fighting games are gonna be. Feels like putting a Metal Slug on there is an easy call.
Oh yeah, free.
King of the Monsters.
Oh. Yeah. It was a Rampage.
And it was like, we're a more sophisticated Rampage. I'm like, I'm here to say I probably could have just played Rampage.
I don't need more sophistication in my Rampage game.
Yeah.
I just want a Rampage.
I want to say, give me what I want. This thing could go to automatic fucking buy. This can become a day one buy. If they're like, look, we put Neo Turf Masters on this.
Wait, Neo Turf Masters?
Yeah.
Brian, I may totally know what that is, but maybe there's some people that don't exactly know what Neo Turf Masters is.
Okay. In the long, long ago, there was a time before Golden Tee. And Neo Turf Masters was like a incredibly good arcade golf game, which was like designed for simple inputs, and designed to be played with an arcade stick.
Alright.
Yeah. And in addition to the inputs in Neo Turf Masters being like very good and easy to learn very quickly, like a lot of its contemporaries at the time, like say, I don't know, Windjammers, one of the things that Neo Turf Masters also did was to create characters of various nationalities with different specialties in this golf game.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like, do you want to be the guy who's really good at putting? I think that character was Japanese. Or do you want to be the guy who's like got the really good power shots? And yes, okay. And the guy who was really good at power shots was Brazilian. Fernand Almeida. Like,
that's cool.
Yeah. And so it was like this like character driven arcade style golf game with like really good art It's been available in like a couple different formats since its original release. I think that like Hamster has ported it to at least one modern console, but like playing it with a stick feels real good. So that's why I'm like, come on, put it on the stick. The only other thing I could think of that feels like an automatic, like, hey, this just seems to really just write itself as far as like not fighting games that should be on there. Two come to mind. One is Nam 1975. The other one is Sengoku. I think that like if you reserve 5 slots for those not fighting games, then you can just fighting game it up with the other 15 slots. Rocky, what are your thoughts on my ratio?
It's not a bad ratio.
Yeah.
I don't even think it really needs to be 50% fighting games. Because once again, it's a functioning fucking stick. Like, that's all I really want. Like, I want to be able to go to a local, and it's like, oh, my match is up, let me plug in my stick. And it's like, oh, there's nothing to do, I guess I'll just plug in this HDMI and fuck around in Metal Slug, who cares? And like...
Yeah.
That's all it needs.
Yeah. Man.
So what have you been up to, Brian?
In addition to being angry at KFC, I'm also angry at Monopoly.
Well, they deserve it. They've been fucking up for the past couple of years.
Really have. I'm surprised they fucked it up so hard in the course of like 2 weeks. So, like, 2 weeks ago, Monopoly by Hasbro got dragged for the release of Monopoly Socialism.
Yeah, I remember that.
Monopoly Socialism appears to just be like kind of like a weird, mean, spiteful joke written by somebody who just like angrily talks about like times that socialism didn't work. Like, well, that just seems like socialism.
Yeah.
I'm going to read 2 of the chance cards from Monopoly Socialism.
Mm-hmm.
Feel free to get as angry as you need. Minimum wage increase. Sucks to be a small business owner. Pay the bank $100 from the community fund.
Okay. Alright. Bunch of fucking babies.
Here is another one. You catch your neighbor using a plastic straw to drink from a disposable cup. Remove another player's chip from any project card and return it to them.
Okay. Like, oh God, they want cancel culture to be real, like, so bad.
So, like, after this, like, completely tone-deaf, dipshit, bad, fucking suck festival, they're like, hey, how can we be even worse? I know, here comes Miss Monopoly. So, Miss Monopoly is a game that replaces the various like street addresses in Monopoly with inventions by women.
Yeah.
And they're very proud of that.
I know, it's so dumb.
And when players pass go, women receive $240, men receive $200, and they're like, we're using this to teach about the gender pay gap.
Except they're not. Like, holy shit. Yeah, how it says, like, in the fucking, like, description, it's like, yeah, but it's like, be careful, because, like, it turns out men can actually make more money, like, if they play carefully, too. If they just invest well, or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
And it's just like, dude, guys, like, fuck off. Like, oh, man. It's not only, like, tone deaf, it's like, it's just, like, lame. And, like, they're not engaging with the topic. Like, they're doing it for clout.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They're trying to make a meme, but, like, brands don't make memes. Like, this whole Miss Monopoly thing is something we're gonna make fun of for, like, a day or so, but I don't think it's gonna stick in the consciousness until, like, the next terrible thing that they did. Which isn't, like, it's just, like, Monopoly is, like, Monopoly's politics are, like, whack now, I guess, and, like, that's it. But, it's always about, like, capitalistic monopoly, so has it ever been really that much better? It's like, no, they were just quiet about it, I guess. Saying the quiet part out loud seems to be in vogue for some reason, but it's still stupid. And I hate it.
I mean, something I don't really get is that Hasbro seems to have decided that Monopoly is a thing that should be produced cheaply enough that what they can do is produce a bunch of shitty gimmick monopolies that can be impulse purchased. So that way somebody can look at Monopoly and be like, this edition of Monopoly is vaguely consistent with a thing I think about sometimes. I guess I can just buy it.
Yeah, but like, before they just used to use like IP, like this is Harry Potter Monopoly, or Star Wars Monopoly, or like Batman Monopoly or whatever, and now it's just like philosophical schools of thought? Like, what is this? Like, what's going on? Are we gonna get like Kierkegaard's Monopoly, man? Are we gonna get Divine Command Theory Monopoly? Maybe that already exists. Correct me if that already exists, but I don't know.
I'm looking at some monopolies right now. Some hot monopolies include Monopoly Voice Banking Electronic Family Board Game. Voice banking is voice-controlled Monopoly. Weird gimmick.
Wait, so like, does it still come in a box, or is it just like an Alexa download?
It appears to come in a box. There is a box.
Okay.
There's also Monopoly Ultimate Banking. What the fuck is Ultimate Banking? Excuse me, I need more details.
It's the last banker. It's them against the world. Interest rates or so, whatever.
Ultimate Banking appears to be that like each player has this like little PDA thing that they're issued.
Right.
And they also have like a card. Your bank card can be used to track your wealth. Property values will rise and fall. Let's see here.
That could be kind of cool.
Of course, Monopoly Game of Thrones, Monopoly Avengers, Monopoly Fortnite, Monopoly National Parks. Oh, well, we slumming it. Monopoly Cheaters Edition. Let's see here. Let me get the hot details on Cheaters Edition. Follow, bend, or break the rules to win Cheaters Edition of Monopoly. Cheating is part of the game. Don't get caught. This game comes with a plastic handcuff that will chain players to the jail space. What? Cheat cards encourage players to cheat and in which cheat to attempt. Complete a cheat to get a reward. Fail a cheat and pay the consequences. The suggestions on the board, cards, and rules encourage cheating in order to own it all. The player with the most money at the end of the game wins. You see, okay, this is great. This Cheaters Edition, I think, pretty much falls in line with like the stuff we were talking about, like the socialism and the mismonopoly, which is like, imagine owning a massive IP based on like one of the most universally understood and iconic board games of all time, and not understanding any of the social politics behind the design of that board game. Rocky, do you know the history of Monopoly? Like, is this one of those old hat things? If I just say the history of Monopoly, do you know it?
Brian, just go ahead and put on the hat.
Oh, you're saying that like even if you know it, people might not know it?
Right.
Okay. Okay. I guess here goes the hat. Like, so, Monopoly was originally designed as like a teaching tool to like outline the failures of capitalism. It was designed by a woman named Elizabeth Meiji. And it was to show that ultimately in an environment where you are profiting simply by the acquisition of property, that other people have to lose in order for you to win. So like the game would progress by like pushing players into bankruptcy, and that the rules were designed to be deliberately inflexible, like, and it was called the landlord's game. So it was stolen by Parker Brothers. And they juiced it up to make it less about education, more about fun. And put out the landlord's game as Monopoly. And completely, I guess, missed the fact that it was designed to be a teaching tool about the predatory nature of simply acquiring more wealth through the existing acquisition of wealth. Like, oh, well, you own Boardwalk, so therefore you get money. You're not doing anything on Boardwalk, you just own it. And so therefore you get richer. And when I look at stuff like Cheaters Edition, the basic tenet of the landlord's game, the basic tenet of Monopoly is that, like, simply owning the property is already cheating. Like, if you are getting wealthier through the possession of, like, capital and do nothing else, then you're already the asshole.
Right.
And so, like, when I see stuff like Cheaters Edition, Monopoly is Cheaters Edition, motherfuckers. Like, you stupid dumb fucks. Like, and so when I look at these, like, various editions of Monopoly, which have come out very recently, like Cheaters Edition or Socialism or Miss Monopoly, they use language that seems to, like, indicate they have no understanding whatsoever of, like, the social politics of this game. Like, oh, it's like, when if men play carefully, they can make even more. Like, what are you on about?
Yeah.
You know, like, if you want Monopoly socialism, it is Monopoly, because Monopoly is, like, teaching that this system, like, that this economic system is busted. Like, and I just wonder, like, what kind of, like, hellscape the Monopoly department is at Hasbro. What kind of total fuckboys are, like, in that department? Like, who works in Monopoly? I'd love to sit in that conference room at that meeting. Oh, and in, like, perfect, like, fashion, Monopoly socialism has, like, already caught so much heat that Hasbro has pulled it from shelves, and it's in perfect fashion now, like, selling at 5 to 6 times its original face value. Oh God, Rocky, I saw one I haven't seen before. Are you ready?
Yeah, go for it.
Monopoly for Millennials.
Oh yeah, I saw that one. There's avocado toast and, like...
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's dumb.
Fucking burn it all down. Well, it's not all bad.
As long as people hate each other, they'll keep playing Monopoly.
It's not all bad. Slay the Spire is a very good video game. I have still not slayed the Spire. I keep on getting to the last fight.
Yeah.
I don't know how often you have this experience with, like, roguelikes. I get to literally the final boss fight and get leveled on the final boss fight.
Oof. It happens a couple times whenever I get there. I know, like, Wizard of Legend was kind of like that when I finally got to, like, the 4th dungeon after, you know, grinding through, like, these various dungeons and their bosses. Because, like, is his name Sebas? Whatever. But the wizard, the actual, like, Wizard King or whatever the fuck, that guy can do some shit, and it was pretty dope. I think I maybe, like, once I was able to consistently get there, it took me about a week to get my clear.
Okay. Then I will hold out hope that my clear is coming sooner than later, because, like, I keep on having the experience of being like, okay, this is the build. This is the build. And then I find out, no, Brian, this is not the build.
Oof. I think you're on your way.
Man. One of the things which is making the game the most difficult is lots of enemies have the ability to cast persistent effects that last between fights. Like, one of the things that enemies do, which is the most challenging, is just make all of your attacks worth less. You start having to plan on, okay, well, I'm going to need cards that'll do stuff like double and triple my attack value, because if the value of my attacks gets reduced and I don't have some kind of doubler or tripler in place, then, like, something's going to waste me just before I have a chance to kill them. The problem is like that I've discovered that enemies have two different ways of, like, putting these kind of effects on you. If they do it through, like, hitting you or attacking you through, like, swinging a weapon or biting you or something, then that's happening as a result of an attack. Which means that, like, if you have enough block cards in your deck that you have played in that fight, you can block the effect from happening.
Okay.
But if they cast it on you as, like, a spell, then no amount of blocking is going to resolve the issue. Because it's not happening as a result of an attack.
Right, so, like, you'd need to specifically, like, have cards that allow you to undo the effect.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, like, I'm really, really continue to be pleased at, like, just how well they have implemented the roguelike experience into a card game.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since I enjoy deck building so much. Like, my favorite part of Hearthstone doesn't happen when I'm playing somebody else. My favorite part of Hearthstone happens in between the games. Where I'm like, how can I put 30 cards together to absolutely fuck someone? And, like, that is the core gameplay of Slay the Spire. So I'm really enjoying that. Also been fucking with something else that just came out. So Kind Words is out.
Right.
Yes. And
have you sent any kind words?
I have. I've sent.
Okay.
I've sent a lot of kind words.
Well, it's good.
Yeah. It's very emotionally draining.
Well, yeah.
I'm really glad there is a report button. I've hit a report button once. So the way it works for, like, the letters that need responding to in the game is you can, like, sort through a pile of requests that everybody has access to, and then you can, like, respond to ones that, like, you're like, oh, okay, I've got something in mind for this. I can write a letter in response to this. So I was looking through the pile of requests, and I saw a letter in the pile of requests where the person said they were planning on killing themselves as soon as they could figure out a way that wasn't painful.
Terrifying.
Yep. And I'm like, I sure am on the internet, fucking with this quasi-game thing interactive object right now.
Mm-hmm.
And, and for a game which is designed to really be a place to, like, provide emotional support and get emotional support, like, imagine if there was a crisis support number, but everyone answering the phone at the crisis support center was also calling the crisis support center.
I mean, yeah, it's a bit of like blind leading the blind, but kind words in and of itself isn't, like, really meant to be prescriptive at its heart. Going on there isn't necessarily going to guide you to a position to, like, solve your problems, because, you know, that's work. Like, that's not a game. And I think it's more about being able to, like, see and be seen by other people. It's about talking to people about the things that weigh on you, but I don't think it's, like, asking for, like, particular labor in return. I mean, kindness is a labor, definitely, but it's one that's, like, I feel like underutilized. People find less chances to be openly kind to others these days, especially on an emotional level. And this shouldn't be, like, any stand-in for therapy, which I know you know, but I feel like that's in the vein of a lot of the press that it's been getting, that it kind of feels like, that it can feel like therapy light. Like, I'm talking about my problems, and someone said something nice to me, or, like, they recognized what I was going through, or they had some good advice, and that shouldn't be, like, the core, like, interactability of this object.
When you take a look at a request that says something like, I saw one that said, my mother has Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
Being around her is exhausting now.
Yeah.
Am I bad for not wanting to be around my mother? I was just like, I really wish that the game had, like, various hoppers or topics that you could like opt into and opt out of, and like, so that way you wouldn't get certain topics, because that really fucking like leveled me. Because like I'm still dealing with shit about my mother's death, and like she passed away 6 years ago this week, and she didn't have Alzheimer's, but she had aphasia, which, you know, directly impacts someone's ability to like
recognize faces,
speak, remember routines. By the time things got really bad for her, she was doing stuff like accidentally burning herself on the stove and things like that. And it was just one of those things where like, just as like a random run-in in this like interactive object, it was just like, it was one of those things where there would have been a certain level of emotional distance if this was a video game ass character saying this. Like, if this was an NPC or some kind of like artificial entity being like, here's this thing, here's this thought, then like I would have been like, you're an entity. You're something I can think of in the context of like an art object that I can use to like process my own perspective. Or even if it was like a real human being elsewhere on the internet where they said that thought out loud, and it was not in the context of like urgently requesting feedback, you know, like.
Right, like in our relationships thing. Well, this is a intimate, personal, real, like, exchange from this person.
Right. In the context of this thing, it's like, the person has said this thing and is like, I'm looking for a lifeline for this thing. And the things I've been, you know, trying to process about, you know, my own mother's passing is like, I thought that she didn't think I was good enough. You know, that, which is a very different kind of thing.
Right.
And so then like, you know, to encounter like just this little letter in kind words, I was like, oh, is this a whole new thing for me to worry about? Because like you get into this headspace where you're thinking about your own problems while you're fucking with this thing. Because like the game kind of like asks you to surface your own problems so that way you can get feedback about your own problems. So like you're bringing the stuff that is bothering you closer to the surface, which like inherently makes you more vulnerable.
The game wants you to bring your baggage.
Yeah. And so like even in like situations in the game where you're like not necessarily trying to, you know, fuck with or process your own stuff, because you're like, I'm going to work on other people's stuff right now. That's what I'm going to do. It's like, well, you're lying to yourself if you think that's what you're doing right now, because like just being here and just doing this is going to expose you in these ways you might not have anticipated. I put like one request into the ether. Like the way it works is like you answer his letters, make requests, and I'm enjoying a lot of like the stuff about like the aesthetic in the world. It really is like what do they call it? Like vaporwave? Is that what the kids say?
Lo-fi.
Yeah, it's like lo-fi Animal Crossing room.
Yeah.
And like there's a deer with a mailman hat, and it's like, I'm the male deer. And it's like, I get it, you're the male deer, haha. And the male deer like brings letters that people have written in response to your request. One of the responses to my request kind of like underscored the sensation of powerlessness that people have when messing with this thing sometimes. Because like the first thing they wrote was like, I really, really wish I could contact you. I feel like I understand your problems. I have so much to say to them. I feel powerless because I can't contact you. And so then I felt guilty for making the request, because one of the responses I got was so much about how powerless a person felt in reading my request. And I was like, well, fuck. That's no good. Like, I don't want a request for letters that I put out there just to make other people feel bad. You know, because they don't think that they can do enough or something, or or that they are powerless to respond the correct way.
Yeah. But like, I understand that this is a part of recreation, but it's definitely like a real way that people will interact with this stuff. Like there are definitely like, you know, really beautiful and tender moments that can be come across in an experience like this, but there's going to be a lot of slip-ups too. Like, that only makes sense.
So I'm going to keep on fucking with it, at least until, like, I don't have the reservoirs for it anymore.
Mm.
You know, like, one of the things that they give you is a URL to see if you've received any letters, so that way you don't even have to...
Like, log into the game?
Yeah. You know, that's been kind of cool. But one thing it has shown me is like, how quickly the pile of letters is growing that need responses. Like, when I went to bed last night, there were about 9,500 letters that needed responses.
Mm-hmm.
And about 6 hours later, there are 10,500 letters that need responses.
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm pretty convinced that people are just going to, like, pound this thing. And I'm really interested in the stress points of this as an interactive object as well. Like, is there a point where people are just, like, writing these, like, please help me requests over and over again and getting no response? At what point does this just become Twitter?
like,
you know, like, I don't know.
I get what you...
We'll see.
Yeah.
Rocky, do we want to talk about the news?
Yeah, sure, man. Let's do it.
So, Rocky, it seems to be that while Tegan's away, we talk GameStop.
GameStop's doing a lot right now. And they're going through it. Like, for real. Apparently they're set to close nearly 200 stores before the end of 2019. They say that about 95% of their stores are profitable. And then there are, like, north of 5,500 stores in the United States. But it looks like they feel like they're oversaturating themselves, so they're going to cut some of them out. And sales did decrease globally in the light of, like, the Nintendo Switch, Madden, collectibles money that they've been picking up. They say it's because of the end of the console cycle, which, you know, has some weight to it. But GameStop feels like it's being, like, increasingly less relevant.
Yeah. I don't think that we ever got to the budget floor that we did in previous generations with this generation of consoles. I feel like by the time we were this deep into previous generations, I definitely remember the point at which the PS3 and the Xbox 360 dropped below 200 at retail.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that at this point, you're only getting a PS4 or an Xbox One for below 200 if you're buying them used, still.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And I definitely know that there was a point at which point PS2s were so cheap that they said, hey, why don't you buy 8 PS2s and use them to, like, patch in the holes in your driveway? I don't think that the things that happened in previous console generations to offset that there were no longer, like, early adopters to buy consoles, like, happened as much. Like, that end of console price adjustment feels like we never got to it.
Well, yeah, because the consoles aren't doing that bad. And, like, I mean, GameStop definitely has other issues involved. The fact that they're not able to sell, like, digital Sony games really hurt them. And there wasn't, like, one big thing that they could, like, hype up the release around this year. Like, there's a lot of things that are coming out, you know, like, right now and leading into the holiday season, there's gonna be a lot of shit that's gonna, like, draw attention. But, like, they're not things that you need to go to a GameStop to get, which is, like, their major problem.
Yeah.
Like, they're still the, like, top retailer as far as, like, video games goes, but they're competing with Walmart and Target, etc.
Yeah.
And they don't need video games to be profitable for them to keep selling video games. They can rely on other departments and shit.
Sure.
But it's cool that, like, GameStop's trying to rebrand. Apparently, they want to develop GameStop as being, like, a gaming social hub. It doesn't look like that they're going to put that much money into, like, remodeling, but they're running, like, some pilot stores in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Because the CEO, George Sherman, said that it's representative of middle America. which I don't know if I'd say that about Tulsa, Oklahoma, but that's where they're running their pilot stores, and they're trying an arena gaming concept where, like, people can show up and play, and then there'll be, like, kind of like a viewing area where people can watch other people play while they also sell games in the background. And I don't know how well that's going to work out in a GameStop space. And then they're going to try to, inch in on the retro gaming market, which, like, hopefully, like, what they really need are just, like, the people. They're not going to, like, cover, like, a store in, like, retro shit and then, like, become, like, a retro gaming authority. But that's not real. And they're also, like, working with Team Envy, who has flags planted in a lot of competitive games.
Yeah.
And hopefully they're trying to put together a deal to have, like, matches played in stores. At least that's what they discussed on their, like, earnings call. But who knows if that will really play out.
I feel like some of this stuff is too little too late. I know that on this show we previously talked about the idea of both store as community gathering place, which could drive foot traffic. And we also talked about retro as, like, concepts. But looking at one of these numbers that you mentioned earlier in the story, it doesn't seem to make sense based on their current health. I feel like if 95% of GameStops were doing just fine, then we wouldn't be where we are with GameStop. Where is their stock price right now?
It's a little over $5.
It is not.
Oh, fuck, really?
They are trading at $4.41.
Oof, it's like 80 cents in a day. Jesus.
Yeah. Gosh.
I mean, that's not great. But, they've been selling off some assets, trying to make some cash back, reducing personnel, which will hopefully give them a bit more money, which will allow them to be flexible. I think the big thing is that, like, year over year, like, physical, like, media is being pushed out. And, like, they're trying to make adjustments. They're trying to streamline their website so things work a bit better. But, it's nothing incredible. Like,
right.
They have some, like, lean and dark years ahead of them. And maybe it'll be the end of GameStop. I hope it isn't, because, like, I feel like GameStop has a lot to offer the gaming consumer base as a whole. They just need to figure out, like, what they want and how to talk to them.
What if GameStop put out a dating sim where you have two different goals? One is to try and get more trade credit for your games. Two is to finally date that GameStop cashier.
One, it would be the worst.
Yes, it would.
I actually think one thing that they could do that could be really interesting is if they had a GameStop ARG.
Mm-hmm.
They use things like particular merchandise or, like, use, like, game SKUs or whatever, where, like, you needed to, like, have certain games scanned to, like, trigger some sort of event. And you'd end up with something like maybe something akin to, like, a secret menu or something
Mm-hmm.
at, like, GameStop. That could be something that'd be cool and, like, experiential that, like, you'd have to do in a store. I don't know how big it would be, but it would be interesting if GameStop was a more interactive place. The things that I liked about GameStop, especially, like, growing up, wasn't that I could go there and pay money for video games and then leave. It was that, like, I could talk to the people that were there and, like, interact about video games. And some of that's a consumer transaction, like, they're helping you find something that you like. But it felt like an event to go to GameStop and interact with these people and take a look at the new stuff that's showing up. Or, like, the fact that used games somehow brought potential, like, treasure that you could come across. Like, it was worth it to, like, go through the used games and see if there was anything good that showed up in the store.
Mm-hmm.
Those are things that, like, don't happen in the present marketplace anymore. And I feel like there's a market for them. Like, I'm really hopeful that they figure out how to do, like, the gaming social hub thing, because that's definitely a niche that needs to be filled. And I don't know about the whole country, but there are definitely, like, pockets throughout, like, cities that I've been to
Mm-hmm.
that would benefit from places that worked like net cafes and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Some sort of untapped potential that GameStop may have. Like, it's not going to be as far as, like, like, literally putting, like, a Starbucks in every Barnes & Noble, but there has to be some step in between.
Man. I definitely do hope things work out, if for no other reason than, like, it's a business which is very close to the hearts of this show. And, I think I've said that, like, the day I turned 16, the first thing I did was go to work at Babbage's, which is what they called GameStop back then. There's a lot of history and is tied up in that company. And it would be a shame if that stopped. I think that something that GameStop can do to connect with some of its audience again. I think that GameStop is a company which is old enough now that they have an ability to tap something which they haven't tapped before, which is nostalgia for GameStop. And I don't think that they've considered that as a possibility yet. We've seen companies exploit nostalgia for their products or environments before. Like this summer, fucking Coca-Cola was out here peddling new Coke at people, and people ate that shit up. But if I were to walk into a GameStop and see the gray carpet and white slat walls and white and red name tags of a Babbage's, I would probably flip my shit and spend all my time and money in there. I think that GameStops through the years have had very, very specific looks. And if they really want to go all in on this like whole retro experiment that they're doing, I think that GameStops that are selling the products of a certain era, but also look like the GameStops of that era, would probably contribute to a feeling of time and place.
That could be cool.
I think that walking into a store that looks like the store did in 1993 to buy Super Nintendo and Genesis games probably would be a real feel. Speaking of things that are a real feel, have you heard the good word about the buff dragon?
I have, yeah.
I think I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The best Nintendo is weird Nintendo.
Okay.
I like when Nintendo gets weird. I like when Nintendo is like, of course this ridiculous idea is the most obvious, conclusion that can be drawn from available data. Like, I'm glad that somebody sat around in a room and said, what if we made an adventure game that was, like, built around using these wild exercising tools? So Nintendo has, they kind of, like, finally explained that, like, strange video that they put out last week.
Right.
And they're putting out a game called Ring Fit Adventure. And Ring Fit Adventure is played with these Joy-Con accessories. For the right Joy-Con, there's like this thing which you slide in, like this large flexible ring, which is designed to like measure like distance from your body and also resistance applied to the ring itself.
Yeah, it's a Pilates ring. Yeah.
And for the left Joy-Con, there's something to strap it to your leg. I think they're calling it the leg con. And that's designed to, identify if you're jogging, you're skipping. Oh, excuse me. Or if you're jumping in place.
Yeah.
And so you go on an adventure in Ring Fit Adventure. You're a woman who is on a quest to save the world from, quote, an evil bodybuilding dragon.
Yes. That's what he is.
How long until we get thirsty pictures of Buff Dragon?
Those already exist. Keep up. But the real question is, how soon is Senran Kagura gonna try to take these peripherals and make a sex game out of them?
First of all, Senran Kagura doesn't make sex games.
Okay. They
make thirst games. Those are different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But, second answer to that question, hopefully not too long.
Oh, man. Because, I saw that squat motion using, the ring and, the leg con, and, there's, someone's already figuring out how to, code that to, make that, digital humping. There's just no way there's not.
Oh, yeah. I think there was some really good design in what they showed in the demo for this fucking game. The coding exercises to different colors and then having the monsters be different colors so that way you know what type of exercise to do to defeat a monster, I thought was really smart visual design. That's the kind of shit that Nintendo is really, really good at. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, this monster is yellow. Like, I need to do a yoga stretch. Like, also consider that, like, monsters show up in, like, mixed packs to attack you. I'm like, oh, that's wild. That's crazy. I'll be interested to find out more about, like, their variable difficulty levels. They're like, yeah, Ring Fit Adventure could be played by a completely out-of-shape lump who's never exercised ever. Or somebody who's, like, legit hardcore. And I'm like, I'm going to need to hear about these, like, I feel like edge cases, the people who are the fittest of the fit and the people who are the most, unfit of the unfit. Like, I think that edge cases are going to have a hard time. So I'm curious to see, like, what the variable difficulty looks like in this, because I could see some people who are extreme cases being left out to dry. Also, Buff Dragon is important, and Buff Dragon is here for you. He will nurture you.
I think he's taking over the world.
Yeah.
Brian!
Buff Dragon is here to say, fuck your rehydrated Ganondorf. I'm the Buff Dragon. Check out my singlet. I've got a cool singlet. I've got a big muscle. Look at me.
Definitely has a 10-pack. It's kind of wild.
Oh, yeah. Drink plenty of water. You're obviously thirsty. I'm Buff Dragon.
Oh, man. Speaking of thirsty, we are coming up on the 20th anniversary of the Dreamcast.
Passed. It was on the 9th.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. It was 1999.
Yep.
Well, like, in the U.S., right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Apparently it's probably related to the release of the Sega Genesis Mini, but there have been nearly a half dozen articles that have popped up about the Dreamcast 20th anniversary. And so I'm not sure if they're just testing the waters or if they're trying to feel out for like a Sega Dreamcast Mini. They did a retrospective. They made a strong argument in every piece that while the Dreamcast was probably ahead of its time in terms of like hardware and capability, it was sandwiched between a very dangerous time for Sega and ultimately wasn't as loved by as many people as it needed to be to survive. I don't know about like an actual Dreamcast Mini.
Sega fucked themselves into the dirt, and that is the only reason that the Dreamcast failed. Like, the Dreamcast was an incredible console with a spectacular software lineup. And the problem is that Sega kept on shifting course so many times prior to the release of the Dreamcast that they had alienated so many of their customers. You had the Genesis come out to like great effect, great success, and Sega released the Sega CD peripheral, never really fully got behind it. And then they're like, okay, guys, now that you have purchased this Sega CD, can we interest you in a 32X? Oh, what's a 32X, you say? It's a thing you plug into the cartridge slot of your Sega Genesis in order to run more powerful games. We swear that this is our next console idea. We promise. And then that turned out to be bullshit. Then came the Saturn. And the problem with the Saturn was there were assumptions that Sega made about how the marketplace was going to work in that next console generation that turned out to not be true. Like, Sega assumed that what people were going to want from the next console generation was better 2D animation. They thought that what people would want is, like, better pixel depth, smoother animation, like, that people wanted nicer looking 2D art assets. And so they designed hardware around the idea of making better 2D art. And then Sony released the PlayStation, which was built around the idea of, like, 3D at all costs is what's important, and turned out to be right. And so Sega needed to bail out of that console generation sooner than later, which is like a position that Nintendo found themselves in with the Wii U. But the difference between Nintendo and Sega is that like Sega had asked their customers in the previous console generation to buy a shit ton of like really expensive peripherals each time, swearing to their customers up and down, this is the thing that we're really invested in. This is where our future is. Like, please buy a Sega CD. This is where it's at. Please buy a 32X. This is where it's at. And so when they jumped off of the Saturn, customers just weren't inclined to believe them anymore. Even though they were like all in on the Dreamcast and were like, okay, this is it. We're consolidating all of our strategies. Like, the Dreamcast is really where we're going. And they meant it. And like, they had some of the, God, there were so many like, peak weird Sega is weirder than peak weird Nintendo.
Well, yeah.
Even the launch lineup for the Dreamcast is like some wild shit. Fucking Soul Calibur. Like,
and Seaman.
Like Jet Set Radio, Ikaruga, Shenmue, Power Stone, Rez, Space Channel 5, Skies of Arcadia. Skies of Arcadia, Rocky.
Yeah, dude, I remember. Well, I don't remember because, like, I was really young when that was happening. But, like, I was around and played a lot of those games.
Samba de Amigo, Crazy Taxi. It is amazing, like, how good that lineup is. Phantasy Star Online, Choo Choo Rocket, House of the Dead, Typing of the Dead. Typing of the Dead is some wild shit.
Yeah.
Code Veronica. Code Veronica was the Dreamcast exclusive.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. And, like, even the launch lineup was, like, one of the most impressive launch lineups in, like, history of console video games. But people just weren't willing to trust Sega anymore.
Also, it was really close to the PS2.
Sony had already started messaging the release of the PS2. Like, they're like, hey, guys, the PS2 is coming out next year. We swear it's better than their thing. And a lot of people were willing to believe them. And it was easy to believe them for a few different reasons. Like, one, Sony did not have a history of, like, abandoning shit. Like Sega did at that point. And two, like, we were at the very, very dawn of the internet as a viable place to get video game footage. And people were starting to see some, like, early screenshots and early, like, footage of, like, PS2 tech demos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we're like, ooh, okay. I can hang back for a year, Sony. But, like, there were ideas that the Dreamcast had that it would take fucking years for other console manufacturers to come around on incorporating into, like, console and game design. I mean, the thing launched with a modem out of the box. There was a modem on your Dreamcast. You were playing games with other people online. Please play Quake 3 with people on the internet. Games had DLC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually.
I remember downloading various packs for Sonic Adventure. Games had content that could be, like, engaged with in, like, some really interesting ways. Like, the visual memory units, the VMUs, the tiny Game Boys that were your memory card were absolutely wild. Okay, there's a guy at Skies of Arcadia. You can tell him, like, go find supplies for us. And when you tell him to go find supplies, he goes to the VMU, and so then you can play, like, a little mini game, a little game of him out finding supplies. And you're like, oh my god, this is the wildest shit. This is so cool. There's a whole generation of people, when you ask them about, like, how they interact with Sonic Adventure or Sonic Adventure 2, the answer that they give you is like, well, playing Sonic is fine, but the thing that I spent most of my time on in playing that game is managing my Chow Garden.
Yeah, because that was with the real shit. That was the real meta game.
Yep. See, I knew that you were Chow Garden age. There's an age cutoff where above that, you're like, yeah, I ran around jumping on shit. And below it, you're like, I fucked with the Chow Garden. That's where I was. They had so many cool ideas, but they fucking Sega'd it up in, like, the years immediately prior to the release. There is some version of the universe right now where the Dreamcast didn't fail. I'm not sure if in that universe Donald Trump is still president, but I would like to visit that universe at some point.
If Sega had really figured it out, Microsoft probably would have never really entered the console space.
I definitely agree. Or if they had, it might not have gone their way. Because if you look at the lineup of the original Xbox, so many of Sega's misfit toys ended up on the Xbox. Because when Sega was making the shift to, we are software developers now, without a hardware platform of our own, they had so many games that were in development for the Dreamcast that had to get moved to a new console. And a lot of that stuff, the easiest platform to transition it to was the Direct Xbox, because DirectX was more developer friendly than some of the other tools available to them.
Microsoft actually made like DirectX kits.
Yep.
That were used for like Dreamcast development.
Yep.
So that crossover actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And so that's why you got stuff like, Shenmue 2 on the Xbox, the sequel to Check Ryan Radio on the Xbox, like Crazy Taxi sequel on the Xbox. Like, so much of what was going to be the output of the Dreamcast ended up on the Xbox. Like, there was very much a feeling that a lot of like kids who were Sega refugees ended up as Xbox people. Like, okay, my console manufacturer has withdrawn from the console war. I will go be a Microsoft person now. There was something I saw this week that I thought was pretty neat. It was a letter written by a kid, and it was addressed to Microsoft. It was like, "Dear Microsoft, I sure do like Halo. Master Chief, he is swell. He's good and nice, and I like him, and he and Cortana are the best, and yay." That kind of thing. It was like full on, like written in crayon, like big clumsy letters, the whole thing. The Microsoft developer who was in possession of this letter bothered to hunt down the kid who wrote that letter in 2001 when this kid had received an Xbox for Christmas.
Right.
And now this person is an adult in their mid to late 20s and is still actively plays video games and is still actively into the Halo franchise. And I think that just because of how old I am, I hadn't really processed the idea that there is now a whole generation for whom Halo is something that they remember from when they were a kid.
Well, yeah. That's a real thing now.
Yeah. Are you laughing because you're like, yeah, Brian, Halo was a thing from when I was a kid?
That, and also, like, those kids are definitely adults now. They've been around.
Yeah, it's just so weird because, like, for me, like, Microsoft always is a company that showed up. I'm still processing the idea of Sony in this console war, okay? Like, oh, man, what do you mean the Discman people are making video games?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, like, it's still even harder to be like, okay, and Microsoft is here.
Oh, you know what's funny? Sony's actually vertically integrating a bit. They announced at Tokyo Game Show the Xperia phones will actually have PS4 controller compatibility.
Yep.
So, like, their special Bluetooth will actually talk to each other. Maybe they'll use something like xCloud, because, like, they collabed a bit for a while. Because they were supposed to Stadia.
Yeah. I guess we didn't really have the memo yet that Stadia sucks.
Yeah, we didn't.
Speaking of shit that works with DualShock controllers, we got some more details on Apple's gaming service.
Hit us with it.
So, Apple Arcade is $4.99 a month, and at launch, there'll be over 100 games in the arcade. So, like, Apple's stated objective with this is kind of interesting. They said with the direction that the gaming market has gone online, that they're stopped really being a place for, quote, premium games. When they explained that, it made more sense. Like, what they're calling premium games are games that are not free or 99 cents that, power their revenue with microtransactions. They're talking about games that cost a little bit more, but are games that have a fixed cost. A game that does not ask you to spend $89 on jewels to dress up your fancy princesses. And the way Apple Arcade is going to work is that when you have an Apple Arcade subscription, every game that will be in Arcade has to be available on every platform that Apple supports with Arcade. So right. iPhone, iPad, Apple TV, and Mac. And your membership gets you access to those games on all the platforms. They're also pushing to all of their operating systems support for both Xbox and DualShock controllers. So like once Mac owners update to Catalina, they'll be able to natively use both of those controller types on their Macs without doing any kind of chicanery.
Wildin'.
Yeah. Also, the latest push for iOS, push support for both Xbox and DualShock controllers to the phones. And the same is also true for tvOS for the Apple TVs. Since tvOS is just a variation of iOS, the implementation was probably a little bit easier. It was kind of wild how many really good-looking games were in their announcement for the launch of the service.
The games do look good, and, they're responsible for me having a date for Sayonara Wild Hearts, so, I'm not mad at them.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were expecting the announcements to be bad or boring or, reflective of people who don't really understand the games market. And to those people, I would say, have you not been paying attention to the moves that Apple's been making in the gaming space in the last few years? When Apple decided to get serious about games, they, hired a bunch of people who had previously been at PlayStation for, store management and store curation. People whose jobs were that at Sony. People whose jobs were, third-party development at Sony. We're like, okay, come be part of our third-party development and store curation team for Apple. And, when I read this list to you, Rocky, Choo Choo Rocket Universe, Exit the Gungeon, Pac-Man Party Royale, Ashante and the Seven Sirens, Steven Universe, Unleash the Light, and Various Daylife. Also, should pause here. Do you know what Various Daylife is?
I don't know.
Okay. Various Daylife is the next RPG from the Octopath Traveler team.
Right, I remember that now. Yeah.
So when I read that list of games, does that seem like a fuck-off list of games from a curation team that doesn't really know the game market?
No, it sounds like someone knows what they're doing down there.
Yeah. $4.99 does not seem like a big ask for that kind of list. Especially knowing that games are available across platforms, play it on your Mac, play it on your TV, play it on your phone, it seems like they're really trying to find a way to make sure that you got their devices because this is a good deal. One thing that they didn't really make clear in the presentation, and this is something I'd like to get answers from them on, is that while developers are required to support all devices in order to be part of this, if you're going to release Exit the Gungeon has to be available on phones, iPads, Apple TV, and Macs. What they didn't make clear is if part of this service there is cross-save support. Because it's one thing to say, oh, well, you can download Various Daylife wherever you have an Apple device. But it's another thing to say, and your save goes with you.
It is true that those are different things,
yeah.
But Apple's cloud is really robust, and doesn't it also work across devices?
Apple's cloud is really robust. Apple's cloud does move across devices. And so you would think that they would just say as an offhand comment and we have the best cross-save support in the market. Industry standard because honestly, I expect them to implement and support cross-save better than anyone else. That's the level of my expectation for their implementation. They really need to. I appreciate them saying, you can download this shit anywhere, but tell me about your cross-save support. Hopefully that'll come sooner than later. I mean, we're going to have field reports from people sooner than later, because this shit is going to be out on iOS and iOS-compatible devices
I think in the grand scheme of things, I think this episode's gonna come out the day before Apple Arcade goes live.
Oh, yeah. Apple Arcade out tomorrow. Woohoo. And on that day, you'll be able to throw it on iPhones and iPads. So, in theory, I suppose I could fuck with it and tell people whether or not my saves are moving between my iPhone and my iPad. But I'll probably, if I'm going to screw with it, wait until October. Because in October, that's when the support rolls out for Macs as well. At which point it'd be interesting to find out, like, okay, so can I play various day life on my Mac and then just grab a controller and take it with me and then play it on my phone? I think that we're about to see a more robust market for snaps to hold phones while the user is holding a controller for iOS.
Yeah, it's going to be a deal.
Yeah.
They're definitely going to sell like an actual like Apple branded peripheral. Like, oh fuck. It's going to be really silly.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, see how it goes.
Speaking of really silly, Rocky, tell me about our next story.
Oh, really? Are these silly?
Oh, you mean the litigious nature of Nintendo? Yes, it is, but continue.
Okay, Nintendo has been litigious lately. Recently, they filed for an injunction in the United Kingdom to have 5 ISPs to block or impede access to 4 websites which help distribute pirated Switch games, modified hardware, or provide information on how to mod consoles for piracy reasons. So, they asked the UK, like, hey, these people are compromising our product, and we'd like for you all to not make it easy for them to spread information. The UK agreed, I believe, and now the UK will have these ISPs impede or block this traffic. This is the first thing. They are also suing another ROM website into oblivion, ROM Universe. But this time, this isn't like a mom and pop shop or whatever, or, people who are definitely curating and, like, maintaining old ROMs better than Nintendo is. These are people who are brazenly selling current Switch games off of cracked ROMs on the internet. And, not selling the games. You can still download them. But you can download them faster if you pay a subscription to this website. And they're getting sued into oblivion. That's what's going on.
Okay. I am of a mind that there's a couple different layers to this. Nintendo, people would always rather just go to you for their stuff, so why not make it easier for them to go to you for their stuff? And when I say that, I am speaking specifically to, like, retro and vintage content. I don't want to buy Earthbound for the 5th time.
Well, yeah.
Nintendo was like, oh, and by the way, Super Nintendo games are going to come out on an even less regular cadence than the NES Online stuff. Might as well just be them saying, like, oh, by the way, could you please steal games of ours off the internet? I don't really think that a lot of the people who are downloading classic NES ROMs necessarily have as an interest stealing Nintendo games. They would just like to play Nintendo games. If Nintendo said, hey, the NES Online feature now just features the entire first-party catalog for the NES, and the Super Nintendo Online feature now just features the entire Super Nintendo Online catalog for the SNES, that they would probably see a significant spike in signups. There is a percentage of people who just want to play old Nintendo games. And when it comes to the new stuff, and this is where I get to the part of, like, I'm of two minds on something. Mind one, game companies are famously bad about their own historical preservation, and historical preservation is best done when stuff is more currently available, as opposed to having to turn it into some kind of exhaustive archival hunt decades later where shit may have already disappeared or passed to history. Like, it's best to archive things when things are around. Part 2 to that is Nintendo is still making a legitimate good faith effort to distribute new games. Nintendo is perfectly willing to sell you Super Mario Maker 2. Nintendo is perfectly willing to sell you Splatoon. Nintendo is perfectly willing to sell you ARMS. So, like, that's not an issue of where, like, lack of reasonable availability is driving piracy.
Yeah.
People download N64, SNES, and NES games because Nintendo is not making a considered effort to make those games available to people. That is not the case with Switch games. So, like, I think it is important to hack the Switch sooner than later because that will help to preserve the Switch in the future. So I would say, okay, hackers, please hack the Switch because we need to hack the Switch in order to be able to preserve the Switch. But, like, distributing games now is not a good idea, which is always interesting because, like, whenever I read about console hack, there's a certain percentage of, like, people who are out there doing the work on hacking consoles where, like, what they'll do is they're like, hey, I'm out here doing the work. I've figured out hack X, Y, and Z, ... I'm not releasing them. And I'm like, okay, that is our gray hat hacker. That's a guy who's out there doing the work, but he's not facilitating current console generation piracy. He's a guy who's doing this either from a position of interest in, you know, security as an abstract hobby, like I'm interested in device security, or a guy who's interested in historical preservation. There are plenty of times where people will figure out something on the Switch and then not release it to general public for consumption. I want those guys to keep on working because when Nintendo does a bad job of curating their history for the Switch, in 15 to 20 years, there will be ways to, like, reliably play Switch games. On the other hand, unless Nintendo wants to make a good faith effort to make NES, SNES, and N64 games available at a negligible price, I say, by all means, people, Big Daddy Brian says, go download fucking Earthbound. Like, Nintendo is giving you no reason not to. What about you, Rocky?
I think the ISP thing, and I feel like I still don't know enough. Like, I feel like there's more that it could be known about these 5, like, British ISPs. But it looks like they're going through proper channels. It's not like them just, like, flexing on these people.
Right.
I don't know too much about game preservation, but I do know stewards of ROMs, ironically, turn out to be better stewards of, like, the catalog than, like, the initial holder. But it's definitely not the way it should be. Like, Nintendo should just be better about this. But, I don't know. There's probably reasons why they can't.
There is oftentimes in life a gap between idyllic reality and reality.
Sure.
And I also don't necessarily trust or want companies to be the stewards of their history, because when companies are the stewards of their history, then oftentimes what that leads to is that history being offered up through the prism of, like, corporate priority.
Sure, yeah.
Like, a good example of that is Lucas not making available the original theatrical print of the first Star Wars film, the one that didn't say Episode 4 in the crawl, because he didn't know yet that Star Wars was going to print all of the money and have a zillion sequels. And so the title crawl at the beginning of the movie didn't say Episode 4 in it, because he didn't know if there was going to be any other movies.
Mm-hmm.
It took Disney buying Lucasfilm for the original theatrical print of Star Wars to become a thing that could be accessed by people. Even though, like, that vault print existed, it wasn't necessarily something that, like, Lucas was interested in exposing because of his own vanity and because it wasn't necessarily consistent with, like, a larger economic vision. When we charge the people who are trying to make money off of us with the historical preservation of art, there is going to be a certain skewing of that mission based on those objectives.
Sure.
Yeah. Where I would like to, I guess, like, the thing that would be ideal is if some of these folks who are currently working in, like, hacking as a historical preservationist conceit start getting work for educational institutions and museums. Because that's probably in the long term where a lot of this work belongs. Rocky?
Yes?
Can I interest you in something stupid?
Potentially, what do you got?
Does Wade Callender ring a bell?
Yeah, he was the lawyer that got assaulted with the Borderlands company.
I know there's a lot of dumb Randy Pitchford stories, but this is a different dumb Randy Pitchford story. Wade Callender is the guy who left Gearbox and sued Pitchford and said that Pitchford left a USB key in the medieval times with company secrets and child pornography on it.
Was it? Yeah, it was child pornography. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Goddamn.
And then Randy Pitchford said, no, it wasn't child porn. It was a cam show because I think squirting is magic. And then...
Yes, I remember that.
Yep. And then they both accused each other of embezzling from Gearbox. And as that story has unfolded, we've seen the story of Randy Pitchford embezzling. Looks like it has legs. Turns out that they were childhood friends. They've known each other for decades, which I guess makes it weirder and sadder. But Wade Callender has a new job.
Okay.
Wade Callender has been hired by the fucking NRA.
Oh, wait, he's been hired by the NRA?
Yes, he has.
I thought he just, signed a member card or some shit. Are you kidding me?
The National Rifle Association has hired Wade Callender to be general counsel for their lobbying arm.
Oh, of course. Yeah, sure.
Jesus Christ. Something which is already immediately interesting is that, the state of Texas, the Bar Association, has you list a specialty when you register with the state bar.
Right.
Wade Callender has listed specialties with the Texas Bar of intellectual property and entertainment law, which are things that have nothing to do with the National Rifle Association. So, apparently this is a thing which is already causing internal strife within the NRA, because, people are like, why the fuck did this guy get hired? Because he has no experience in, political lobbying and gun law, and because the NRA has made part of its bread and butter for years dunking on video games and dunking on the people who produce video games, that bringing in a guy who comes from video games feels like it's counterintuitive to their own bullshit message.
Does sound like a mix-up.
Yeah, and so Callender's attorney released a message regarding the hire. He said, I like to think that the NRA went out and found the best of the best. He's a rock-solid individual, a man of high morals, strong Christian values, conservative politically, ex-military. He's exactly what the NRA needs. Another fun fact, in 2012, Wayne LaPierre gave a speech shortly after Sandy Hook where he cited a list of video games as the games he said were directly responsible for Sandy Hook. One of those games was Bulletstorm. And fun fact, in 2017, Gearbox published a remastered edition of Bulletstorm. So, Callender has worked for a company at the time it was publishing one of the games that Wayne LaPierre has directly linked to gun violence.
I wonder if he'll apologize. He won't apologize, but it's going to be messy.
Wayne LaPierre, the head of the NRA, is currently under fire. He's facing his own embezzlement scandal, which is what kind of makes this all weird, because he's been doing stuff like buying country club memberships and doing a whole bunch of personal expenses which cannot be directly related to NRA business, but having the NRA pay for it. And I just... I have to wonder if, why go hire a lawyer who we know doesn't have a problem with mixing up with their employer, and is used to dealing with people who embezzle.
I feel like it's a play by someone, but I don't know who.
Yeah, I can't figure out who's fucking who. This is fascinating to me. Honestly, it was such a weird, unexpected turn. I was like, okay, calendar to NRA, I guess. Huh. It's certainly less charming than, like, say, John Vinyaki to Nintendo. Wade Calendar and Randy Pitchford continue to be the gifts that just keep on giving.
God, they are a lot, like, together and apart.
Yeah. It is no joke. Rocky, I think that does it for news today.
Yeah. We gotta do what came out on Steam.
Yep.
Or, like shout-outs to our Russian audience.
I think that we should probably hang back on the scratching post today till we've got more cats to grade that mail. Because as it is, like, we would only be at 50% strength with available cats.
We have other cat-related content, like, next time anyways.
It's true. So today on Steam, we have 7 games. First up is Hard Times. Hard Times is an extreme urban survival game where you put yourself in the shoes of a homeless man, taking in all the challenges of that daily survival places in the great metropolis of indifference. It's a homeless simulator. That's bad. It is $6.99.
It's not great, no.
It is also in early access. How about that?
Maybe they actually do something with it at some point.
Yeah. And then let's see here. Next up is Graphy 4. Graphy 4 is a casual, colorful, minimalist physical puzzle with traps and changing gravity. Yeah. It's $1.19. Nothing particularly special there. Next up is Ava, an adventure game where the protagonist is a girl resident of the world Coyote. The heroine has to get out of the dungeon and find out what happened to the world. This game really looks like if Limbo dry humped Super Meat Boy.
Oh, Jesus, okay.
Honestly, it looks like this is a person who stopped playing platform games after those 2 games and is like, well, I know everything I need to know about this genre. So, draw your own conclusions from there. It is exactly, Super Limbo Boy. Next up is Zebra Logic Master.
What?
Do you belong to the only 2% of the world population that is able to solve Einstein's puzzle? Discover here. You are John Zebra, physics student. You want Dr. Einstein to be your academic advisor. However, Dr. Einstein always challenges those interested students to solve his test, which only 2% of the world population is able to do. So you decide to start training solving tests similar to what he proposes. Oh, it's a shitty quiz game.
Damn, that was like a whole mini game of like Persona 5 and it was charming. It's not a whole video game.
Next up is Zombie.
Okay.
Which appears to be like a VR zombie game.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, there's a dog in it.
Is it a good boy?
I think they're all good boys.
Alright.
Next up is Smooth Mover. Move smoothly through a series of rage-inducing levels.
No. I don't want to do that.
I agree. I do not want to move through rage-inducing levels. Then lastly, Transport Services.
That's a video game?
It is, for $6.99.
Really?
Yes. Transport Services is a lightweight, fast-paced simulation game about designing and managing transportation for a dynamic world.
So it's like City Skylines, but just about transportation.
Yes.
I mean, I guess. $7?
Yep.
No, there's no way that's worth $7.
It certainly doesn't look like it.
Alright.
And that is what came out on Steam today.
We did it.
Rocky, take us home.
Hey everyone. This is our show. It's called Impossible Coin. We do it every week. Tegan's out of the office, but she's okay. We're going to get her out of the jail cell. Everything's going to be cool. If you want to help us out, what you could do is take wherever you found this podcast, whether it be on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher, and leave us a review, especially if you're on iTunes. It would help us a lot. There's music at the beginning and end of this podcast, produced by our friend Big Sach. You can find his work at soundcloud.com/BigSachNJ, or you can find him on Twitter at Hillary_Swank. We also have an icon, a logo, that is also on a t-shirt, and it was designed by our friend Lauren Moran. You could find her on Twitter at Lauren Moran and consider throwing a couple bucks at her Patreon because she deserves it. We're on social media. Brian's usually on Facebook. I usually hang out on Twitter. And Tegan's on Tumblr. It's all Impossible Coin. No spaces or anything weird like that. Drop us a line whenever you feel like. If you put in some mail, then we'll get the cats to grade it. That's how it goes. That's it. I think that's our show.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out. We will bail Tegan out, and we will be back sooner than later. Peace.
Later.
You suck.